too, but then we'll have the recording on the YouTube channel.
Got it.
To the clouds, we'll have both. Welcome everybody to February 2024 WITI Digital Health, excuse me, and biotech community. We're excited to have Neil Cannon back to continue to talk about all the tech going on with sounds, using AI for a lot of this stuff too. That's been a theme to many of our sessions. And we're going to discuss frequencies. Neil, over to you.
Thank you, David, and thank you for having me back. I was delighted to accept your invitation. I think this is such a cool topic. I believe the way of the future is frequency medicine. In fact, I know it's the future. And these technologies actually date back quite a few years, arguably about 100 years, in fact. Royal Raymond Rife in the early 1930s found that you could actually get rid of cancer with sound and frequency. So all these technologies are coming back now. They're resurfacing at record speed, and I think it's about time. So what I thought I'd do is share a slide deck that I prepared last time, and I'm just going to skip over the first bit. A bit about my story. I've recently learned that no one really cares. So I'm just going to go through that very, very quickly and get to the pieces which are more relevant to the tech and the bioresonant piece. So I do have this deck that I'm hoping I have the permission to share, yeah. So can you see my screen? Do a quick check. And can you hear me okay? Because I've optimized. Is the sound still good?
Yeah, you sound great, and we can see this.
So I've kept the same title as beforehand. So embrace the future of health, tech-driven solutions for chronic illness. Jump in. Quick background on me. This is my latest book, The Vitality Code. I've been helping people ultimately get to the underlying cause of illness instead of just approaching illness by taking drugs or with surgery and not addressing the underlying cause. So there are now methods to determine underlying causes, which we haven't had until recent years. It was a lot of trial and error. And now we can actually supersede and fast track that time it takes to determine underlying causes. So we can look at data-driven understanding and also a digital roadmap to vitality. Very, very quick backstory. I did have eczema for 30 years. It wasn't until I understood it had an underlying cause when I addressed the underlying cause and it went away. And the reason I investigated its underlying cause was actually an accident. And it was my father's stroke. And I started to actually research why he had his stroke. I'm actually going to an event tonight with on strokes with a fellow metal brother of David of mine's. He's called the Stroke Hacker, and incorporating all kinds of ways to regain brain function. Actually, anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there. Strokes are happening at a record rate right now because there's a new toxin in town, and it's really good to address that new toxin in town. And bioresonance and frequency can actually do that. So my dad suffered a stroke. I researched chronic inflammation, which led to his stroke. My aunt's a naturopathic doctor, and she had told him a few years prior to his stroke that he had chronic inflammation and toxic blood, and advised him to get mercury out of his mouth because his blood was toxic. Sadly, he didn't listen to her, and he had the stroke. So he didn't have to have that stroke. That's what I realized, and I actually followed my intuition that he didn't have to have the stroke, and that's what I found out. So chronic inflammation is what underlies just about every chronic illness. So the stroke that he'd had, of course, the hypertension that led to the stroke, the asthma he'd had since 12, a fully reversible condition, contrary to popular belief, and of course the eczema I'd had since I was a toddler. So when I addressed the underlying cause, addressed chronic inflammation, it went away. And then since 2015, I've been helping people reverse many symptoms of chronic inflammation. Now, symptoms are often referred to as chronic illnesses. I like to call them chronic symptoms of an underlying cause that needs to be addressed. I see it as an invitation to do a bit of reverse engineering, if you will, or you become like a a problem solver to figure out what is causing the symptom, much like symptoms. Your body presents symptoms much like your car has warning lights on it, on the dash, to invite you to take your car to the mechanic or, to investigate the cause. Anyway, this is what I've been doing. So I won't read all these out. I'll read out a few. Any skin condition is a result of inflammation. Pre and type 2 diabetes. In fact, type 1 diabetes, when developed in life, is an autoimmune, which is also an inflammatory condition. High cholesterol, meaning the VLDL, really, the very low density lipoprotein, which builds up plaque in the arterial walls. Arthritis, migraines, excess body fat is actually inflammation. Low energy and fatigue, so people crashing in the afternoon is quite a big thing, particularly if one is an overachiever and performer, working hard, entrepreneur, professional. It's often to crash mid-afternoon, and it might not be as normal as one might think it is, because there might be an inflammatory response in the brain causing us to crash. Fibromyalgia, ulcerative colitis. The list is virtually endless as to what is linked to inflammation. So what is inflammation? Very, very quickly, it's your body's reaction to what it perceives as an attack on the system. So something foreign enters your body, some kind of toxin, something that's not in alignment with nature, enters the body, and the body creates an inflammatory response to protect you. It's like your army of defenders protecting you from foreign or alien intruders. So if we get the toxins out, then the body can heal itself. We have toxins in the body's going to be constantly on overdrive trying to protect us. And it tells us it's being protected by giving us a symptom. This can also be a result of chronic stress as well. And that often happens as a result of unresolved trauma, which, believe it or not, this bioresonance therapy can also help with. So very, very simplistically, if we think of any symptom as any chronic illness or genetic disease as a symptom of chronic inflammation, under which there are different causes, but the main causes are toxins and or chronic stress. So I like to simplify things as much as I possibly can, because I don't think the body was designed to be complicated. I think it's been overcomplicated to appeal to a certain industry, which is very, very profitable. So we don't need to do that. We can actually investigate why we've got sick. And that's the world we're living in now. We can actually all take radical responsibility of our health and do this, which is really cool, I think. So this is one of my favorite taglines. If you don't recognize an ingredient, your body won't either. #inflammation. So drugs, great in emergencies, not so good for chronic illnesses, and they don't address the underlying cause. So where does tech come into this? We can use bioresonance, which is frequency. Everything in the body has a frequency. Every organ, every tissue, every muscle, every bone, every ligament, everything has a frequency. And with these frequencies, we can use inventions, we can use technology, we can use devices with frequency to determine imbalances in the body. And we can also determine even blood markers and inflammatory markers, which normally, when I work with my clients, by the way, I normally always get them to do a blood panel at the beginning to measure where they're at with inflammation. So we have something to measure it against as the weeks and months go on. So as the weeks and months go on, you're getting healthier and healthier, and the inflammation drops down, and then symptoms naturally ease. So we can use blood tests, and we can use bioresonance. We can use microbiome testing, which also uses AI to measure the gut microbiome. If the gut microbiome is out of balance, that's where inflammation typically is created. So we can use that tech to actually determine what's going on. So prior to the most recent years, there would be a lot of trial and error. Functional medicine, for example, is all about getting to the underlying cause. And there would be a lot of trial and error. And now we can actually, as I said earlier, kind of leapfrog that time. Naturopathic medicine, of course, is all about stimulating the body's own ability to heal itself. It's, in my opinion, that's true medicine, really peeling back the layers of the onion, figuring out what's going on, what's causing the body to fall out of balance, and then bringing everything we can to the body to help it to heal itself. So bioresonance, a few machines I've come across and rate are sensitive imago, organotest, NLS body scan and AO scan. I've got the AO scan myself. So let me just share something quickly. This is what I didn't share last time. And I want to share this because it highlights the body electric. The body electric forms the backbone of the work that I do with people. It's understanding that the body is wired up like a house with every organ that we have on a different electrical circuit. And I used to be an electrician, by the way. So when I figured this out, it's like if the penny dropped and everything fell into place for me. And it happened because I got EMF poisoning in 2017. What does that mean? Well, in 2017, I was living in Los Angeles. I had great health for the most part. I was working out every day, had plenty of sunlight, yoga, vegetable juicing, anti-inflammatory diet. I felt like I was doing everything right, but I couldn't shake off this cold for more than a month. And my business partner at the time and friend, it's still a friend today, great guy, suggested that I went to go and see someone in Costa Mesa to see what's going on. Why couldn't I shake off this cold? Because normally I'd bat a cold in 24 hours, it'd be gone. Flu-like symptoms. Anyway, I did that and he tested me and he said within about 10 minutes or even less, Neil, your teeth are depolarized on this side of my mouth where I used to hold my cell phone. And I looked at him like he was an alien from outer space. I thought, what are you talking about? This was brand new to me. He said, your teeth, where you hold your phone, are connected to your immune system, and the EMFs from your cell phone have depolarized these teeth, meaning the polarity, the negative and positive charge, had flipped. So again, this language of electricity and voltage is new to me. And he said that the voltage in those circuits has dropped. So what we're going to do is one last thing. He said, your teeth act like circuit breakers. So imagine in your home, you've got the fuse board or the consumer unit, we also call it in England. Every one of those circuits in the body goes through the teeth, and your teeth are circuit breakers. Again, this was all brand new to me at the time. So he said the solution that he was going to use, or the treatment he was going to use on me, was scalar energy. And he used these lasers and he shined these lasers on my teeth. And believe it or not, my cold went away. And he would use these lasers on my teeth. And in 2 sessions, I was fine. He said, Neil, can you imagine how many people have EMF poisoning and they have absolutely no idea? And that is ultimately what I left the building with. I was thinking, crikey, these EMFs, they're real. We're wired up like a house and we need to pay attention to this. And he said, don't ever hold your cell phone next to your face again. So I haven't ever since. And I've also never bought those Bluetooth earpieces either for the same reason. We need to be very mindful of EMFs because our cells are very sensitive to EMFs. So we're built up with everything's electricity in the body, even our emotions, even our thoughts have frequency. And every time we move a limb, every time we have a thought, everything is frequency, everything. So we have 50 trillion cells or 100 trillion cells, depending on which cell biologist you talk to. Every one of them carries a charge. And this is all tied in with these devices because we know from a body electric standpoint that a characteristic of every chronic illness is low voltage to an organ or low voltage in an organ. So this is what happened with me recently. I had various scans in the last year. I've done this on and off for years. But at the beginning of last year, I used this GDV machine, which I don't have an image of. So the GDV machine measures the biofield that surrounds the body. And it's a very clever device. It can actually determine the biofield around organs. And I was told at the beginning of 2020 that the only organs in my body that needed the most attention were my eyes. And then later on, I had a bioresonance scan. This is a technology I'm about to share with you. And it showed low voltage in my eyes. So everything's kind of tallying. It's all saying the same thing. If we have a number of tests and they all say the same thing, I think it's time to start paying attention. So I found low voltage in my eyes, and I've recently been treating my eyes or yes, I guess you could say treating with bioresonance. And I've also been looking directly into the sunlight at sunrise and sunset if I'm up in time for sunrise, because we want to get the energy from the sun into the eyes, which then penetrates the rest of the body, believe it or not. So this image here, and by the way, just tell me to stop if you need me to, because I realize I'm just cramming a lot into a short period of time. But I just thought I'd continue unless I see a message flash up in the boxes, and I think we're good at the moment.
Well, you're good, Neil, but Dr. Johansson did have a question about frequency technologies to reverse hearing loss. So just whatever it's natural. Donna may have some insights on this, but if you want to complete, and then we can come back to.
I love that question, because yes, and hopefully this will explain that. Hearing loss, the first thing I say is not enough voltage getting to that part of the body, the eardrums and all the pieces, all the mechanisms behind hearing. That's low voltage. Why is there low voltage? Then you can use these devices to figure out why there's low voltage in the ear. This is my gallbladder. This was a few months ago, and I went for a second scan, and I've used I think 3 different scans have shown exactly the same symptom in my body, which I think is fascinating. It just gives it more weight and more reason to treat it. So I'm going to play this video on the left.
Scanning my gallbladder.
Can you hear that?
On this organo test machine. It's the one organ that's shown up as being.
You'll see what it was. This is what it looked like. That's what it looked like before. And after we did some.
Show the before?
This is the before.
Okay.
These were your curves.
We've treated it for E. coli.
Yes, we treated it with lethal therapy, and we did 3 methatherapy, and this is how it looks now. With curves are almost even.
Most of the black wrong. Now, I didn't have any major symptoms of my gallbladder.
So let me just explain what's happening. This is a frequency device called organotest, which is very similar to NLS body scan. And what it does, one of the things it does is it determines areas of low voltage in the body. So this picked up low voltage in my gallbladder. On another video, I've got an eye image showing low voltage in my eyes. But this is low voltage in my gallbladder. And what she did, and this is one of my favorite healer friends in Mexico, she went down several layers into my gallbladder to find out why there was low voltage in my gallbladder. And by the way, I didn't have symptoms except for this pain in my back. And I was told that there was a reflex point of the gallbladder in my back. So I thought, okay, let's just investigate more. So I did this treatment with her for about 40 minutes, and we got about a 50 to 60% improvement in my gallbladder.
Scanning my gallbladder on this. I am just with an electrode.
Oh, this is the machine.
So we treated them as well. What showed up in my throat?
You're
virtually fine. Go figure. What showed up in my throat?
your tonsils.
Tonsils. I've got swollen tonsils and it showed up. So we treated them as well.
Those earmuffs, that's how that particular machine works. It pings the frequencies out of the ears. Let me just go over to the E. coli on the right here. On the top right image, we have E. coli. And on the bottom right image, this video, we are using sound to address the E. coli. So what we did is we did several, this looks really absurd and futuristic. What's happening is these sounds are being kind of pinged off my ears and in my electrodes in my hands. I'm holding that electrode and it's using these frequencies to go right into the gallbladder and to address the E. coli. So what she did is she actually took the E. coli and dropped the voltage in the E. coli, and she raised the voltage in the surrounding mitochondria, which is the energy battery. It's the battery of the cell. The mitochondria is referred to as the battery of the cell. So she dropped the voltage in the E. coli, raised the voltage in surrounding cells to get rid of the E. coli. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it like this, because well, in my view it is, because there's so many illnesses, so many maladies, so many imbalances that are all a result of low voltage. And people are just taking drugs thinking that's helping, when in actual fact, drugs typically cause inflammation, which is the very thing we want to be healing in most cases. So this kind of technology gives us a lot of opportunity to really get to the cause without the guesswork. Oh, here's the GDV machine on the right. So on the left is my brain. One minute.
I think that my brain's good. Wow. Must be all the breath work I do every day.
Yes, oh my goodness.
And cold showers. And cold therapy, ice therapy.
Oh, there you go. That produces so much circulation. Beautiful. Yeah, very back.
So brain was looking good.
Brain's pretty good. Eyes are weaker. Early this year, I did a GDV machine analysis, and it picked up in my energy field that I had a weaker energy field around my eyes. And now I'm getting it picked up in the physical.
I was hoping to show you the actual scan of the eye there. It's harder to see in this image, but in this image of the eye, there were areas, there's only a few yellow here, whereas in my brain, there was lots of yellow all over the brain, showing a healthy brain. And then when we went layers deeper into the eye, it showed areas of low voltage. So on the right here, we have the GDV machine.
And we're about to do next level stuff using
This is the
biofield.
biofield.
And the body electric, drawing upon all kinds of principles from the likes of Dr. Jerry Tennant, Nassim Haramein, understanding quantum, understanding that we emit energy, and energy comes from our fingertips. Everything is resonance and frequency, and Chris is pretty advanced in this. We're going to be using a GDV machine, and it's called BioWell.
You're just putting the fingers on, and literally it measures the energy output through Correllian photography.
But I mean, your field it's really good. I like it. It's way above average.
Oh, that's good to hear. Can we have that on camera?
It is definitely. Oh yeah, it is definitely way above average. It's you're definitely doing good meditation. Otherwise, there wouldn't be that balance. And again, I mean, here's nothing where there's not enough energy, and so then it is actually quite normal that there's still things that have a higher energy than your average, because of course the body is constantly healing and replacing.
Healing, yeah.
And I mean,
Can you see any organs that need any attention right now?
And if we go into the organs, and we, for example, then see where the biggest part is here, this one actually would be the only one which would be lower. So if we have something, it would be the eyes, and actually ears, nose.
So the reason for sharing that is we have the human energy field machine, which is the GDV machine, and then we have bioresonance. So they're both technology. They're both using frequency, just measuring different things. One says energy field is low around my eyes. The other one says low voltage. So everything's saying the same.
Brain looks good.
And we're about to do next level stuff.
Right. So this is one of the machines. This is called sensitive imago. This is one of the first ones I ever used, actually. Initially in LA, I think in 2014, I saw this machine. I actually took my dad into Harley Street in London, maybe 8 years ago, and we plugged him into one of these machines, and it picked up mercury in his mouth, showing up as one of the main challenges in his body. And it confirmed what his sister had said to him years previously: get the mercury out of your mouth. Now, of course, just a quick heads up, if you ever want to take out mercury from your mouth, meaning amalgam fillings, got to be done super carefully by a biological or holistic dentist, ones who really know what they're doing, because otherwise it can actually create mercury poisoning. I just want to put that in there if you do have any mercury fillings. So this bioresonance machine with my dad showed mercury flashing, like it was bright red, if it, all kinds of sounds, warning for mercury in the mouth. It can make things so much simpler when we can determine what's causing the imbalances. So We need to balance the organs and the systems, and that's the main sensitive imago device. Level 2, problems in the human energy field. So the GDV machine that I just shared with you can determine the health of the human energy field. Level 3, we have to protect against electromagnetic pollution. And in 2019 and 20, we saw the rollout of 5G technology. Believe it or not, there was no safety testing whatsoever, even though there were 6,000 studies, peer-reviewed studies, talking about the impact of cell phone radiation and other Wi-Fi networks and other dirty electricity on our cell health. So they did that with no safety testing. So level 3 is protecting the home from EMFs. And we can also protect, I've got a little protector on my phone here. You might too. Protects from the EMFs. So we can still use the technology. I love technology, by the way, and I wouldn't be able to be doing this presentation with you right now if we didn't have this incredible technology. I just think there's a really good way of being mindful and safer with it. So level 4 is cleansing environments and persons from viruses and bacteria. So this was updated for COVID-19. Now they've got to be very careful with the wording they use, because they always do. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, but everything has a frequency, including COVID-19. So, and every virus and every bug. So imagine being able to use these machines to just clean out viruses. At the beginning of COVID, this is part of what I was doing, as well as ozone therapy and IV nutrient therapy to bolster the immune system, which of course also affects the frequencies. So the level 5 is about stresses. So anxiety and stress, chronic stress typically. We can use these devices to actually balance emotionally as well. So it's quite amazing what we can do with these devices. Last time I did talk about the microbiome testing, which is AI, and you can actually send off a stool sample. By the way, wait for the kit first. Don't just send this company your stool sample. They send you a kit. They will analyze it and tell you what is good for your gut at that particular point in time and what is not. It's really helpful. And I'd say the majority of my clients have benefited from doing this one test. I can't say 100% of people benefited, but most people benefited. Of course, getting the test is one thing, implementing is the next thing. So we need to understand which foods are stressors on the body and which ones are superfood for the body. So it can help a lot. I'll never forget one client with fibromyalgia. It picked up that she was specifically allergic to green peppers. This is the Bioresonance, the microbiome scan. And she stopped eating green peppers and she had way less pain in her body almost overnight. So it can take away the guesswork. And that's where technology and health are really quite amazing. So David did put in this description about vagus nerve stimulation. There's many ways of stimulating the vagus nerve. You can splash water in your face, you can meditate, you can do reflexology, you can do massaging. This is one of my favorite things to do, and we do this every morning after breath work, and it's heart and brain coherence. And we can actually change our nervous system in minutes, even less than a minute, by tuning into high frequency emotions. And this doesn't require any technology. You can get technology at the Heart Math Institute, but this doesn't require any technology. We can just tune in to the power of the heart and slow down the breathing. Just slowing down the breathing changes the nervous system. It actually communicates to the body that we're safe. And then we can combine that slow breathing, typically 5 in, 5 out, in a few minutes, and then start thinking of someone or something to cultivate an emotion of appreciation or gratitude or care or compassion. And we change our biochemistry in the body, including the vagus nerve. So it's huge. We do this after Wim Hof breathing every morning. David's with us every morning. We do this and we supercharge the immune system as well, particularly when you do it for a little longer, say 5 to 7 minutes. And music helps as well. Music and sound is phenomenal to combine this with. The sound healing goes back many years, decades. In fact, I'd probably say a century at least, with known medical effects. So it's obviously since the beginning of time, sound therapy goes. I'm just saying in terms of the knowing that it helps us, that categoric nature of it. So when we are in a place of frustration, we have a heart rate variability that looks like this. It's disturbed. And when we have a disturbed heart rate variability, that illustrates emotions of stress in the body. And when we're living by the hormones of stress, we're actually compromising our immune system. Whereas if we are in a place of appreciation in as much as we possibly can on a day-to-day basis, we actually improve our heart rate variability, which is a very, very important biomarker for every function in the body. I've had friends and clients get rid of migraines by doing heart and brain coherence. It's really amazing. And just in a few minutes, by slowing down the breathing, tuning into a high frequency emotion, and just sustaining it for 5 to 7 minutes, and combine that with a nice bit of music, it creates magic in the body. So that's the end of my presentation. That's my book again, 4 Pillars to Reverse Engineer Illness, Heal Inflammation, and Ignite Your Life Force Energy. It's all about understanding these pillars and going on a bit of a journey. And wherever possible, we can use this technology to really get to the cause instead of guessing. So that's it. And that's my email address if anyone would like to contact me. And I've got a brand new community, by the way, starting on Monday, the 4th of March. To open this up for more people. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Neil. And I'd love to, Dr. Johansson had to leave. I sent her the link, and so I'll put it in the chat too for the stream. As far as her question about hearing, about using frequency technologies to reverse hearing loss, do you have any thoughts? And I know, Donna, you've got a company in this space. Are you using frequency for this?
I think that's such a great question. And it's so interesting that we have a specialist in this space as well. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll tell you what you explained about the fact that our health is very much similar to a house is very true, right? So the electrical panel in a home and how it works with our home is very much like our heart and how our heart works with our body, right? So the frequencies, the most important thing with hearing loss is figuring out why did you lose a hearing, and then how do you figure it? So it's better diagnosis, better solutions, right? So in my youngest daughter's case, she had problems with her hearing because of a vaccine. When you tested her hearing, the hearing on the right side was 100%, the hearing on the left side was 80%. So logically, you would think she would be able to hear, but I knew that she couldn't hear because when she was sitting in the back of the car, both daughters, one daughter understood everything I was saying and the other daughter didn't. So it really wasn't about what was happening in her ears. It was about what was happening in other organs and other circulatory systems in her body, right? Wow. So as you had said, when you have the electricity and how the electrical circuits work in our body, that is very true. I mean, what we eat very much impacts, and we all know this from electrolytes or sugar, and we see kids, you know, when they have sugars and they, you know, have the sugar high and then sugar low, right? So we try to maintain the optimal amount of energy so that we're getting the right amounts of synapses to our heart, which is then in our circulatory system, and then also to the other systems. I will tell you that one of the most complex cases that I ever worked on was a teacher who had never been sick, and then she retired, and all of a sudden she had hearing loss. And so when I spoke with Dr. John Stevens, who is the inventor of the billion-dollar company called HeartFlow, I said, John, isn't this interesting? And he said, yeah, I mean, it was just a true testament that when she was a teacher, she used to get this love from the children, and that love from the children and her love of teaching ignited her heart, fueled her circulatory system. she was naturally diligent in terms of eating healthy to stay healthy around the children. And then when she retired, she didn't have that love of the children, right? She didn't have that love of doing a career that she loved to do. So, so hearing frequencies and frequencies in general in our body are very much impacted by what is happiness. And you talked about how when you have trauma in your life, yes, sometimes we do more to avoid pain than we do to get pleasure, right? But there's no question if we gravitate towards what makes us happier, those frequencies are ignited and then we naturally gravitate. It's also like if we exercise, then we tend to eat healthier. If we go outside and we get fresh air, that fresh air fuels our body as well, right?
Yeah, I love everything you just said. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd love to add, I mean, you kind of touched on it, is the role of trapped emotions and hearing loss. I interviewed someone on my podcast recently who reversed, he's 81 years old now, he's a friend of David and mine's. Is that right, Grandma? He's a friend of ours, and he was losing his eyesight, and he used various quantum tools, meditation practices and visualizations and emotional release, and now he has 20/20 vision at 81. Wow. So most people accept that it's normal to lose eyesight as we get older because that's a societal norm. However, he's helped not just himself, but other people regain their eyesight. And one thing I'll never forget him saying on the podcast is he helps people tune in to an event in their life that they didn't want to see what was going on. What in your life did you not want to see? And it left a trauma, like an energetic imprint, which dropped the voltage to the eyes. That's the way I kind of interpret. The trapped emotions drop the voltage to the eyes. And the same is can happen with hearing. Interesting what you said about your daughter and the vaccine. It's remarkable how many ill effects happen as a result of vaccines. Happened with me. That's what created the eczema as a toddler. So it's definitely something to be mindful of, and there's safer ways to do it than unsafer ways to do it with the vaccines. But that aside, that is a toxin, and there's also the role of trapped emotions, which might be dropping the voltage to the ear area. So and I just
that's fascinating that he was able to get back to 20/20 vision.
Yeah, and repeat it. It's you know, I've attended a few Dr. Joe Dispenza events. Are you familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza? He's teaching, he's connecting science and spirituality. He's connecting meditation and heart and brain coherence, which is what I mentioned earlier. He's supporting this all with data, with solid, unequivocal data. And what happens in the body when we're in a place of meditation and visualization, when we're kind of changing our neural pathways and we're releasing and alchemizing the trauma. He's showing what's happening in the body with these 2,500 biomarkers. And he says we can secrete a pharmacy of chemicals in our body superior to any drug by our thoughts and through meditation. That's what he's shown scientifically. And I'm bringing him in now because he said, I mean, there's people reversing just about everything you can think of under the sun at these events, and not even at the events. We can all meditate at home for free and visualize. And he told us on the last retreat in Cancun that this particular thing really surprised him. But someone had their thyroid irradiated. That's what they do in Western medicine, by the way. If you have an overactive thyroid, one of the most common practices is they destroy the thyroid and then they give you hormones for the rest of your life. In the holistic space, we say, okay, if the thyroid's out of balance, there's low voltage going to the thyroid. Why is there low voltage going to the thyroid? It's toxic, number one, and it's normally connected with leaky gut. Let's heal the gut. Let's heal the voltage situation, rebalance the voltage so the thyroid can function again, whether it's underactive or overactive. Doesn't that make more sense than destroy the thyroid and put you on drugs? Anyway, this person had destroyed their thyroid, which typically is a permanent thing. But through the power of meditation, they regrew a thyroid. It's amazing what we can do with the body. And that's without any technology, actually. That's just purely with meditation. So, and the alchemizing of certain energy blocks. I felt inspired to share that just now. It was slightly off topic, but also on topic with hearing, because if we can do that with the thyroid, imagine what we can do with hearing and with eyesight and with everything else.
And Neil, thank you. Amazing. Lorraine was asking how she could learn about the tests. Are there places that are easy accessible?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is, depending on your location, I would just type in bioresonance near me, or naturopath near me with bioresonance, but use the keyword search bioresonance, because if local businesses have done their work properly, they will optimize for these keywords. Quantum might be used sometimes, because you can use these. They're all energy, so they're quantum, but you can actually use them remotely. The one I've got is called AO Scan, and I speak into my computer or my phone, and it will read the frequencies, believe it or not, and it does a similar readout to the one I just shared with you, not quite as detailed like an organ cross-section, but it does show a lot of information. It can even pick out my deficiencies in nutrients, like in micronutrients. If I'm low on vitamin D one day, it will tell me. And it can also say you need to up your vitamin D today. And it might say adrenals under stress because I've just had a coffee, for example. And it's quite cool. It will just tell me what's my snapshot at this point in time. And then the next scan, it will tell me what's changed. And you can use frequency to rebalance, and we can use the frequency to determine actions that we can take in our day-to-day life to help to rebalance as well. So we've got two questions on hearing. I would love to think of that as a case study maybe, and see what can be done with low voltage to the ears and figuring out why that's happened.
Yeah, and Lorraine, by the way, is in Costa Mesa. Neil, is there somebody in SoCal that
Costa Mesa is where I saw a kinesiologist in Costa Mesa. I'll give you in fact, why not just share it? It's live on YouTube, drgoing.com. He is the guy that told me about my electrical body being out of balance. So in Costa Mesa, they've got various clinics and locations where you can use these devices. So I would just do Costa Mesa bioresonance, or Costa Mesa kinesiology, Costa Mesa, any of those keywords, and it should come up. In my presentation, my slideshow just now, let me just show that again. I did have a few listed. Where's it gone? So let me just share this screen again quickly for you. This is not limited to these ones, but these are devices. Oh, did you just load sound? Can you hear me okay?
you saw? Yep. So
Right.
good. We can hear you, Neil.
1 second.
Yeah, we heard you before too. Are you able
Oh,
to hear?
sorry.
No, you're good.
My computer's doing weird things. Sometimes the speaker just like turns off. It's
Would have been ironic if you lost your hearing in the middle of that, but
It would be. Yes. So
I can fix it for you.
thank you. Yes. So yeah, these are 4 devices I listed. You could use these as keywords as well. So sensitive imago, that's sensitive without the E, that's not a spelling mistake. Organotest, NLS body scan, AO scan. These are 4 that I have personally used, so I can recommend any of those. Also, I'm currently learning on this AO scan, and we could do some remote sessions if you like. I say learning because it's a new investment I've recently embarked upon. So happy to do that. But yeah, that's just a few of the makes that I've got to hand.
Amazing. Excellent. Well, thank you, Neil. This was great. Let me stop everything.
Thank you.